Yo guys, been a little while since I made a video, but I said I would do one of my trading on Friday, just to sort of show a bit more my process these days and stuff like that. So yeah, here goes. Right, so if we start on the daily chart, we can see that we've come down, mitigated this area, and we're pushing up pretty impulsively at the moment, right? We've obviously got a bit of resting liquidity above these highs, so we can expect, if when this high gets run, that we're going to get a decent pullback, right? Cool. So the idea here would always be that essentially we're probably aiming to run this high, right? We're coming off the weekly high low, we're coming off the daily extreme, price is impulsive. You know, likely we're not going to see that much of a pullback until this high is run. So yeah, basically that, right? So let's move down onto a slightly lower time frame, right? So cool, now framing up the trade ideas for the day, right? We obviously, I mean, for me, the only really significant 4-hour demand that's close by is this, right? It's run liquidity, it's broken structure, this area has run no liquidity, etc., etc., etc. So if we were to retrace heavily, we're likely to hit this, right? Take out the liquidity below this, or this below this, you know, use this as inducement and continue the rally up. But on the 4-hour chart, we have these little wicks here, right? Sell to buy price action, always something that gets me interested. So let's go and see what this came from. So the way I do this sometimes, if I see a bit of price action like this, I'll just mark the top with a horizontal line, and I will go and look what it's hit. And we can see here it's hit like pretty much the EQ of this whole supply range, right? So for me, I want to go and see a little bit what it has reacted off over here. So I'll just go through a bunch of time frames. Okay, cool, hit the EQ of this, right, cool. Can we find something more precise? 1 hour, no, we've got this. Let's just keep going down. 45 minute, no. 32 minute, no. Actually 32 minute, we have wicks there, right? So we have sell to buy wicks that we can see we've had some form of interaction here, right? So let's just see if we can go and make that a little bit cleaner on another time frame. That looks pretty good, so let's use that, right? So we have a supply to demand, a demand to supply flip there, right? So cool, we now know that essentially with this level, right, what we've got is we have an extreme here, right? But the extreme didn't do anything, right? Like the extreme breaks no structure, right? The break of structure comes from here, right? So the extreme is likely to be run as well, right? Because it doesn't do anything. Like we have interaction down here, here we don't. So likely speaking, this is going to be, if the move came, the move would probably come from here, right? So let's remove this now as we have our area, and we can go and just investigate a little bit further what this all came from, right? So let's mark this out, and we'll just do our replay again there. Cool. So now, when we look at this area a little bit more in depth, right, as we know, I use the 15-minute time frame. Right, so for me, obviously, we are still seeing a succession of higher lows all the way from the bottom, right? We've got a higher low here, we have another higher low here, we've got a break of structure here, right? We have, depending on the size of this, I tend to like to use like 13 plus pips really for a break of structure, right? So that doesn't really qualify as a structural leg for me. Let's see about this one, does that qualify? Cool, so here we have 14 pips, right? So that for me would qualify as structure, right? So we have another higher low here. right? So we know that until this gets taken, we are bullish and likely the target is the swing high, right? According to the higher time frame. Okay, and we know that this area is a supply to demand flip, right? Now the next thing I want to see is an engulfed, or a piece of engulfed sell to buy price action, right? Cool, this isn't engulfed, right? So that for me, not the most valid thing in the world. So here, if we're looking, we have sell to buy price action here, sell to buy price action here, and then we get the push through the supply level, right? So cool. What can we see in here? Well, nothing really at the moment, but we can see that we've come into this previous level of, wouldn't really call this supply as it's broken no structure, especially on this time frame, but we might see something else on a lower time frame, right? So important to always investigate. Cool, now we can validate this area as supply because we have broken this low, right? So valid supply, right? Now, where's the buying price action? Right, so here to here, so the top of this wick essentially, right? Cool. Now, where's the interaction? Well, it's this sell to buy that gets engulfed and leads to a break of structure. Brilliant, right? So we've also got a couple of lower levels there, but you know we know this reacts to this. You know here, well, no, this doesn't even get engulfed, so really it'd be these wicks, this, and that is about all of the information we have at the present time, right? So now let's just carry on price through to sort of London, Frankfurt, London Open. Right, okay, we wake up, right? We can see that we know we're in this higher time frame supply area anyway, right? Like the whole 4 hour thing. Let's just mark that up as well quickly, or the daily thing, whatever we want to call it. This whole larger wick here. So we know we're within this, right? So we can definitely start looking potentially for some sales, but we need to be aware that we are bullish. Structure is bullish, right? What happens when structure is bullish? Well, demand zones are generally, or supply zones are generally used as reaction points, right? So, cool. We now have, coming into London Open, right? We have got a change of character, right? What time is that? So it's 7 a.m. is there. Right, so cool. If we're waking up in Asia, right, we can see that we have change, like the high gets run, right? Then the low gets run, so that's a change of character, right? Not a break of structure, the structural level is below, right? But we've definitely got a change of character, right? Cool, that one. So, what broke this, right? Well, again, we want to look for engulfed sell to buy price action, right? Cool, what have we got? Well, we've got this massive wick here. We can see this on 15M, so instantly for me, that's like, right, let's go and have a look at this wick to this wick, right? That's our sell to buy range that changes character, right? Also gives us interaction with the previous demand area, right? So it's also an S to D flip. Right, we also have a bunch of liquidity resting below these lows, right, and we have a little bit of liquidity resting below this low here, so we know that we've got potential targets. What else do we have? Well, here we have, again, engulfed sell to buy price action that is completely unmitigated and has broken a minor high, so it's definitely valid supply, valid demand, right? So we're starting to build some nice areas that we can look at, right, for potential reactions, potential interactions, and it just gives us an idea of what to look at, right? What else have we got? Well, we've got something over here. We've got this little inside bar. Again, it's not engulfed, so for me, I'm going to go and find the engulfed candle, and boom, there we go. All right, cool. So we've got 3 levels of demand that we can potentially look at. And it gives us good ideas for profit taking areas, areas to look for hedges, areas to look for the buy to continue the bullish rally, right? Cool, now that I've got my higher time frame areas, right, I'm going to go and refine them all on the lower time frames. Right, so what do we have here? Well, okay, cool. Within the 15-minute buy to sell range, right, we have got this. sorry, that's the one thing. And supply. Right, and we've also got this. And we can just investigate a little bit further. This would be an OB on the lower time frames, but well, no, it's an OB there, it's a buy to sell that gets engulfed. So cool, we've got two areas there. We're also aware of the whole 15-minute thing. And let's go and look at these areas. Well, this area we don't really need to refine because it's just this. This area over here, we could refine it to sort of this or this, but the area is relatively small. Over here, what do we have? We have got essentially, we want to look at anything below here, right? So this is mitigated. The only thing that's unmitigated is this wick, right? So cool, that is our refined demand area. Here we want to look at anything within this range. So really, this isn't engulfed. This would be engulfed on. This would be engulfed on a different time frame. So we still want to keep an eye on that. But yeah, these are basically the levels I'm really interested in playing at this point in time, right? Cool. So we've got our areas, right? And we just want to monitor how price moves because we might see a deeper retrace. We are in daily supply, etc., 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 right? Also to note, if we look at the 15-minute range, right, where are we trading come London? Trading in the premium, right? So is London going to continue the rally up from premium, or is it likely to pull back down to the discount of the range and then rally up, right? So again, here, not at the discount of the range. So likely this area is going to be a reaction point to mitigate something lower down here, potentially down here because this is the bottom sort of 30% of the range, which is always more high probability. So cool, let's just go and have a look how Frankfurt develops, right? We can see this area has run liquidity too, which is good, right? Always better to have areas that have run liquidity. We also need to know that this is equal highs, right? So definitely limits on any of this shit is not a good idea, and in all honesty, likely that liquidity is going to be taken at some point because we're bullish, right? So price fucks around. Cool, coming into Frankfurt Open, what do we get? Okay, so here we've liquidated all of these highs, right? Perfect, brilliant. Right, now, do we get change of character? That's the next thing, right? Here we can start seeing that we've had some sort of interaction between buyers and sellers already, right? Okay, we get a push up. So here, this is what we talk about when we talk about a V-shaped recovery, right? See the aggression away from this. This isn't that, like, this doesn't form the same as this, right? This pushes up, pushes down instantly, right? So cool, we've got a V-shaped recovery, right? And a mitigation. Perfect. So, cool, now we have a change of character again, right? So, bearish intent, right? We know, you know, this is where we want to start saying, all right, well, we can potentially get in this trade, and we just need to monitor how it develops, how the price action develops. Does it start being really impulsive? If it starts being really impulsive, then cool, we can hold. If it doesn't become impulsive, if it becomes corrected, then we need to start looking at areas to take profit, right? Because we don't know, right? So cool, for me at this point, I'm just going to hit this as soon as it comes back into this, right? So here for me, as soon as it came back in, hit there, I got filled somewhere around here. For me, I know that I can generally get away with a pip of stop, so that's what I'm going to use. It's completely up to you guys. You can cover the high, you know, you can use 2 pips, up to you, right? The way I manage my risk is 1 to 4, so yeah, like cool, start getting a nice reaction, right? Right on Frankfurt Open too. You see, like 705 that, right? We've got this liquidity down here that we can target. Brilliant, right? So cool. Let's just see how it starts developing. Okay, price starts developing pretty correctively at this point in time, right? Not filling me with confidence that this is going to take out all of this yet, right? So I want to start looking at an area that I can at least take partials, right? And that would be there for me, right? The next unmitigated level of demand. So I'll take 80% of the trade there. I can potentially look for a hedge to come back up to mitigate this. right? Because we formed equal highs here, and it's about like monitoring price as it develops as well, right? Like you've got to be aware of all of this shit. You see, like what's going on, right? Cool. So it's being corrected still, right? Okay, yeah, we can potentially look for a hedge here. I can get in the buy here. Personally, I know a couple of people caught it on the very low time frames, and fair play to you. I would have been looking at this candle here, because again, we get that run on equal lows, we get that V-shaped recovery. You know, you could use the range here, whatever, but yeah, I didn't get in, right? So cool, get taken out of the rest of the trade for break even, and I'm absolutely fine with that. Okay, now I'm looking at this, right? Does that get hit? No. Okay, all right, this is interesting. What are we doing here then? Well, why are we retracing? All right, let's keep an eye on this level, see what happens here, right? Well, here we get another change of character, right? Okay, we've also had, as I always say, right, like I want a change of character and an SD flip, right? But I'm always going to be aware of unmitigated extremes. So here for me, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, well, this is the level of interaction, right? We can see that here is where buyers and sellers have interacted. But do you really want to trade from this at this point in time, right? Not really, right? Like, look, it's just got liquidity above there. We've got something going on up here. So for me, I'll just go down and investigate and be like, okay, well, we've got an unmitigated, well, partly mitigated OB there, right? Let's go and have a look at the really low time frames, and we can see here that we've got this completely unmitigated thing above all of these equal highs. Right, cool. Price shouldn't come above that, right? And again, just notice the price action, right? Fast, aggressive reaction from the high that has given us a change of character on the 1 minute, right? So another V-shaped recovery that's run equal highs, right? We've developed liquidity here that we could see run, right? So we're still within the premium of this range. So, you know, is it going to break structure from here? Probably not, right? It's probably still, the objective is down here somewhere, right? So cool, for me, again, I just stuck a limit on the buy to sell wicks there because I knew that was the 5 minute. I don't use limits a lot, but I could cover that happily with a pip there. Right, and I don't believe it's going to come above that, so for me, again, that's fine, right? We've had the change of character, we've got our level of inducement, you know, we've got all the good things going for it at the moment, right? Cool, price comes up, and again here, I just want to be monitoring how price develops at this point, right? Can I target here? Or can I target here? What do I need to do? What do I need to be aware of, right? We've got unmitigated demand levels. Does price start reacting impulsively? Does it start acting correctively, right? Starts reacting pretty correctively again, right? We get a nice dump here, but it's not filling me with absolute confidence that this is going to melt through this at this point in time, right? So again, I'm just going to pull partials here, right? Like I'm going to pull 80% trade. I'm going to look for a buy to take a hedge, right? Again, I didn't get in the buy here, but that is life. But yeah, that's it at the moment, right? We're coming into an unmitigated level of demand and reacting correctively, and price moves, right? Now, I know a few guys shorted from here, but you know, we've got an unmitigated extreme above. This high has formed fairly correctively, right? Are we going to see a reaction from this? Potentially, right? But what I want to see is definitely a change of character here, at the very least, right? And on the 1 minute as well, because of how, you see, it's that V-shaped recovery thing again, right? We've come in and we've absolutely mooned out of it, right? So let's just wait until we get that change of character on the 1, right? We don't get it, right? Price still creates liquidity, more liquidity here. Right, we just form this sort of wedge shape, as Brian says, always hedge the wedge. But yeah, we start seeing liquidity formed here. Right, liquidity formed here. Right, and we've got this extreme. So, you know, like here, normally I'd take this on the seconds, but I was playing with the puppy at that point in time, so it cost me more money. good on him. But yeah, like for me, this is a high probability area to take the trade on the 1M, right? On the second, sorry. This isn't because we haven't hit a refined 1M zone. This isn't because it's before 7 a.m, right? So hit, right? Okay, so you could look on the seconds here, and I'm pretty sure there's a good entry, but I didn't take it, so I'm going to show you the entry item, right? So, cool. Now, what do we get, right? So, again, at this point in time, if I haven't got in the entry here, I'm looking for that 1M change of character again, right? There's my high that's been taken, right? Where's my low? So, last point here. All right, cool. Now, let's see, right? Down, right. So, here's our last point of demand at this point in time, and we see interaction again, right? So that is a level if we continue on down, that's a level we potentially want to look at. But let's just see how price develops. Okay, cool. Now we get that change of character. All right, brilliant. We've also got this extreme, right? And notice how we reject the extreme. Oh, wrong thing. Sorry. Right, we reject the extreme, right? So instantly we are seeing that interaction between buyers and sellers there, right? Let's see if we pop up to mitigate this, right? Because at this point in time I'm happy to trade from this, right? But I'm gonna again just wait and see how it develops, right? Cool, we're coming back up to it. Oh, okay, no, we haven't hit that, right? Okay, cool. Now we have our failed reaction here, right? So price has come into demand, the reaction has failed, right? It hasn't mitigated the high at that point in time, but we've run enough liquidity right up at the top that we know that, sorry, that's what I'm looking at, that potentially this aggression is going to continue, right? So here for me, again, I was downstairs, I was on my phone. Normally I'd look at this on the seconds, but again, I was just happy to hit that when it came back up there because I could cover that little high there with my stop. More than happy to take loss. You know, like, so what? Who cares? Like, I've made money that day, you know, like, if it comes back up to here, I'll just hit it again. Like, it doesn't, at that point in time, it doesn't bother me, right? We're moving with speed, with aggression, from an extreme, right? We've run tons of liquidity, right? And we've got this weak 15-minute low to target, right? The low hasn't broken this swing high, so it's still weak, right? Cool. Nice, right? Start moving off impulsively. All right, cool. Now, why are we seeing this reaction? You know, if you haven't noticed that there's a demand area here, just say it. Always ask, why are we seeing this? What is this reaction about? Right? We come into this area here, area of demand, that has broken this high, giving us a change of character. Cool. Do we need to hedge? Right? Do we get another change of character back? I'm risk free at this point anyway. This level's mitigated, so I know that if we take this reaction here, likely we're coming down to this, right? And then I can look for buys, right? Because what have we done? We traded into the discount. Cool, so we've taken the reaction. Brilliant, right? This area, again, does stuff, but you know, hey ho, such is life, right? Cool, we keep trading down. Oh, nice, we get a really nice push there, right? Straight through everything. So this level is looking like it's gonna fail at this point in time to me, right? I'm also looking at this level here. I want to find the engulf candle, so I'll just go on to 2M, find this thing here, right? And again, you see how I'm like just jumping up and down time frames to see, just so I can get a clearer picture, right? This, to me, doesn't make enough sense on 1M because, you know, this candle doesn't really engulf, so let's just go up in a different time frame. Let's see what area I want to trade from. Here, there, that's it, right? So cool, again, if we see there, I know I have unmitigated levels above this, right? So all I'm going to do is wait for a reaction on the seconds, right? It's taken out this demand level now, so we know that in theory this lower demand level is the key to it all, right? So let's see what we get here, right? I'm already, you know, like I know that structure is bullish, so I'm pulling 80% of this trade here anyway. And if I get in this, I'll just TP the whole thing, to be honest, because it's only a quick continuation. I don't normally take them, but again, I was making the right decisions that day, right? Cool, again, nice corrective push away from the low. What does that do? Gives us a weak low, generates liquidity to be run later on, etc, 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 right? Cool, so we hit that. This was actually the only trade I took on the seconds this day, and I saw this as the change of character. It's aggressive. Again, I was having a good day. I saw these equal highs here, so I just hit this as soon as it came above there. Again, with the momentum we were carrying, you know, I'm pretty confident I can get my stop above this as well. If it comes above it, it comes above it. So what? Move on. You know, you lost the trade. Hey ho, such is life, right? Let's just unlock that. Move that over. Clean up all of this a little bit. Right, so what have we done? What did I say, like, first off in the video, right? We're trading in the premium in London, right? What is London likely to do? London is not likely to push these highs, right? From a premium, it's highly unlikely. You see it very rarely, right? We've also just generated a shit ton of liquidity up there, right? We've got these equal lows to target. Cool, let's just see, right? Price, you know, we're lowering the leg, but this, again, look at these. Like, this is just textbook price action. Right here, this buy is like absolutely beautiful, right? I took it a little bit early. I'll show you both entries, but yeah, I took it a little bit early. But cool. So we come in, right? Generate like symmetrical equal lows, pretty much beautiful, right? I love that, right? Now, do we get an aggressive reaction? Right? Cool. We get that aggressive push in, and look at the push out, right? Wicks, bosh, straight through, right? Cool, so do I need to be aware of the extreme? It's an inside bar, yes, bullish candle though. This doesn't get engulfed. Right, cool. What happens now? Right, cool, well, we've got some form of interaction here. Again, we're trading against 15-minute order flow at the moment, so, you know, it's up to you. This is valid, right? We have had a change of character. We are bullish. We are coming from a relatively discounted level. We have seen interaction, etc., etc., etc. I didn't take this trade because I was out at that point in time, but it just shows, you know, like, if the trade's there, right, it's going to give you more than one opportunity to get in, right? Like, that's how order flow works. People have to build positions, right? Like, you see how this trade here, right? Even if you catch it here, this is still, you know, like a 1 to 6, right? Like, what more do you want? You know, like, you just take that one trade, right? You're done for the week, the day, the month. You know what I mean? Like, on heavily funded accounts, that's a massive percentage return, right? For me, you know, you all know that I just absolutely love trading. And then cool, right? So we see this mitigated, right? We see again. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention again up here. We have another V-shaped recovery. Look at it. Like, it's just the same thing over, literally. It's the same entry over and over and over and over again. That's it, right? This is a continuation, so it's a little bit different. Everything else is the same, apart from I'm getting in at slightly different places. But I know that this move is likely to carry out. That's the higher time frame intention, to move down to discount, to mitigate some form of demand, to moon the highs, right? NFP or no NFP, right? Cool. So this has now pushed up, mitigated the area that has caused shock. So we're starting to see that chain of demand, as Brian calls it, right? Mitigation to mitigation to mitigation. Cool, we start seeing it buck around a fair bit. Cool, we've got a little emboss there. Right, okay, now we've seen this little low taken. So we're starting to see a little bit of supply come back into the market. Again, we're generating sort of equal lows here at this point in time, right? So we have run this liquidity here as well. But let's just see how we interact with, you know, this extreme here. This is what I was seeing. Again, I was a little bit early on this, in all honesty. I should have waited for, because we're trading against 15-minute order flow, right? What I should have waited for is this change of character here to here, right? That's the safest way to take it, right? That's the second entry that I'll show you. Again, I was actually out walking and I saw this and I just thought, do you know what? I like that price action. I've had a good day. I don't mind taking an L. So I am going to hit it, right? But that's the area we really want to see run, right? Takes this low. If we take that high, cool. But what I saw, right, was, and it's always harder to trade off your phone anyway. But yeah, price coming down, right? Let's see what it does here. Cool, we respect that demand, right? Sorry, that supply. Do we get a break of that? Right. Yes, we do. Right, cool, perfect. So we've had like, we're starting to see what we bullish order flow coming, right? We have one higher low here, that's protected, right? And then we see another higher low from here. It's only like minor structural stuff, but it's important. That is order flow, mitigation to mitigation creation and protection of high lows, right? That to mitigation there, and again we get an aggressive push out. Brilliant, right? All stuff that I love. Yeah, we've got a bunch of liquidity here. Honestly, at that point in time, I don't really care. You know, like we've run these, we've run this low here, so this area has taken some liquidity. Market builds liquidity the whole time, right? We don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to go, etc., 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 right? The extreme here definitely is valid. Right, so for me, I just hit this as soon as it came back down, and I could get a 1 pip stop with any decency. That for me was, let's just take that trade, right, which is somewhere around here, I believe, right? We took out this high too, which I should mention. No, sorry, we didn't take out that high at that point in time, which is why the entry was a bit early. But we had broken another level of minor structure within here, right? So we're really starting to see demand take back control in a bullish market, right? So that is ideal, right? That's what we want to see. All right, cool. Price taps in, and again, I'm only looking for 1 to 4 to get my risk off as well. Remember that, right? But you know, bullish. I'm targeting high. You see the nice slow corrective retrace. We have equal lows here, little level of liquidity, inducement, whatever we're calling it these days, that can be taken into there, right? Price now gives the change of character. So this is in fact the better entry is from here, right? That engulf candle, right? So yeah. That's broken high, etc., etc., etc. We've induced tons of liquidity at this point in time, so we don't really need a level of liquidity to induce, but we do again create very nice equal lows above it, just there, right? So that is really, we've had that 15-minute shift in order flow at this point in time, right? So that's really the safest entry to take, right? And like, yeah, all right, don't trade NFP if you don't know what you're doing. It's can be a recipe for disaster, but if you know what you're doing, it's fine. It's as safe as anything else. You know, like we always take a risk. We're just like, yeah, we do get candles like this, so we do get massive slippage if you find yourself on the wrong side of it. But that candle there, I'm just looking at that daily high, thinking, cool, we're going to get a heavy reaction to that. I'll pull like 90% partials there. I'll leave a little nugget running just in case we do get something nice. But yeah. Cool. And you see how I framed all of this up just from like unmitigated levels of, let's just remove this candle here because that skews the whole thing. Unmitigated levels of supply and demand, all to do with pricing, all to do with liquidity. It's all of the concepts tied together, right? Interactions between supply and demand, failures of that, changes of character, V-shaped recoveries, everything we talk about is in this. Right, and it's in every single trade, right? Like literally every trade is virtually the same, right? It's all the same entry model, just the price action's a bit different, you know. But you've got to interpret it. You've got to say, okay, is this what I like to see, or is this not what I like to see? If it's not what you like to see, then you know, don't worry about it. Like, stay away. You know, this is what I like to see. So for me, I'm going to keep trading until I start making some wrong decisions. I did take a couple of losses in here. I can't quite remember where they were now because I just sort of block them out after they've happened. But yeah, that's basically it, right? Like, for me, that's textbook, like, premium discount, right? We start in premium, we trade down to discount, we see a continuation of the higher time frame intention, which is to run the high, right? With all these equal highs here, you know, NFP is never coming down, it's always going up, and yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, I hope that sort of helped everyone. If you've got any questions about it, yeah, feel free to hit me up, and yeah, take it easy, guys. I will speak to you all soon.